There comes a moment in life when the wound is so deep that silence becomes your only language. You smile, you move forward, you pretend you are whole, but inside you are carrying the weight of words that were never apologized for, promises that were broken, and love that did not stay gentle. Being hurt deeply changes the way you see the world, yet it does not take away your ability to rise from it. Tonight, I speak to the part of you that kept breathing when your heart felt shattered, to the soul that stayed kind even when pain tried to harden it. This is not a story about what broke you, but about the quiet, powerful journey of how you begin to heal and rediscover the strength that pain could never steal from you. Healing does not arrive with a trumpet or a sudden miracle. It enters quietly, the moment you stop telling yourself that you are fine when you are not. It begins when you allow the truth of your pain to sit beside you without shame. You have been strong for so long, carrying wounds as if they were invisible, smiling so others would not worry, surviving so the world would not see you fall apart. But strength is not the absence of pain. Strength is the courage to admit that something hurt you deeply and still believe you deserve peace. There is nothing weak about acknowledging what broke you. When pain goes unspoken, it settles into the bones and teaches the heart to shrink. Honoring your truth means saying, even if only to yourself, this hurt me and it mattered. It means understanding that your tears are not signs of failure, but evidence of a heart that dared to love, trust, hope, and believe. And that kind of heart, no matter how wounded, is a powerful thing. You may have been hurt by words that cut sharper than knives, by hands that promised safety but delivered harm, or by silence where love should have spoken. These experiences can make you doubt your worth, question your judgment, and fear your own openness. But hear this clearly. What happened to you is not who you are. Pain may have visited you, but it does not get to take your name, your voice, or your future. Healing asks you to be patient with yourself in ways you may have never been shown. Some days you will feel light again, and on other days the ache will return without warning. This does not mean you are going backward. Healing is not a straight road. It is a gentle circling back to yourself, again and again, until the wound no longer controls your steps. Each breath you take in honesty is a quiet declaration that you choose life over bitterness. Forgiveness, when it comes, does not excuse the harm done to you. It simply releases you from carrying a weight that was never meant to be yours. You are not required to forget, reconcile, or reopen doors that closed for your protection. You are only asked to free your spirit from the prison of resentment so your heart can expand again and breathe. One day, you will notice that the pain no longer speaks as loudly as it once did. You will laugh without guilt, trust without fear, and love without losing yourself. The very places where you were hurt will become the source of your compassion, your wisdom, and your unshakable grace. And when that day comes, you will realize that healing did not erase your scars. It transformed them into proof that you survived, that you honored your truth, and that you rose, still tender, still brave, and beautifully whole. Being hurt deeply does not make you weak. It proves you were brave enough to feel. In a world that often teaches us to armor our hearts, you chose openness. You chose to love with your whole being, to trust without measuring the cost, to believe that tenderness was not a liability, but a gift. That bravery matters. Pain does not visit empty hearts. It finds those who dared to live fully, who stepped forward instead of hiding, who believed connection was worth the risk. There are people who walk through life untouched, not because they are strong, but because they never allowed themselves to feel deeply. They closed doors before love could enter, kept walls so high that nothing could reach them, not even joy. You, on the other hand, opened yourself to the fullness of human experience. You felt hope rise in your chest, love settle into your bones, and yes, pain carve its lesson into your spirit. That does not make you fragile. It makes you profoundly alive. When you were hurt, something inside you may have whispered that you should have known better, that feeling so much was a mistake. But emotions are not errors, they are evidence of courage. It takes strength to let another person see your heart, to believe in something you cannot control, to give without guarantees. The ache you carry today is not proof of foolishness, it is proof of fearlessness. Being brave enough to feel means accepting that love and loss often walk hand in hand. It means understanding that joy does not come without vulnerability, and growth does not come without discomfort. You stood in that vulnerable space and did not run. Even now, with your heart tender and tired, you are still standing. That is resilience in its quietest and most powerful form. There may be moments when the pain makes you want to harden, to shut down, to promise yourself you will never feel that deeply again. But numbness is not healing, and silence of the heart is not peace. Healing asks you not to abandon your capacity to feel, but to tend to it with more care. It asks you to protect your heart without imprisoning it, to love wisely without loving less. Over time, you will begin to see that the same depth that allowed you to be hurt is the depth that allows you to heal. Your sensitivity will become your strength, your empathy, your power, your compassion, your legacy. What once felt like a wound will slowly reveal itself as wisdom. You will know how to recognize real love, how to honor your boundaries, and how to choose yourself without closing your heart. One day, you will look back and understand that feeling deeply did not break you. It shaped you. It taught you how strong you are, how vast your heart is, and how capable you are of rising with grace. You were brave enough to feel, and because of that bravery, you will be brave enough to heal, to love again, and to live with a heart that remains open, honest, and unafraid. Pain is not a punishment sent to break you. It is a passage meant to teach you how deep your roots truly go. When hurt arrives, it feels cruel and personal, as if life has singled you out for suffering. But pain does not ask who you are to wound you. It asks who you will become after it passes through you. It comes carrying lessons wrapped in ache, wisdom hidden beneath tears, shaping you in ways comfort never could. In the midst of pain, clarity often disappears. You question yourself, your choices, and sometimes even your worth. Yet pain is not proof that you failed. It is proof that you were in the process of becoming. Growth rarely announces itself gently. It stretches you, bends you, and sometimes leaves you feeling unrecognizable. But just as fire refines gold, pain refines the spirit, burning away illusions and revealing what is real and lasting within you. Through pain, you learn discernment. You begin to see who stays, who listens, and who only loved the version of you that did not require patience. Pain teaches you boundaries where there were once none, self-respect where there was self-sacrifice, and wisdom where there was innocence. It sharpens your ability to choose better, love healthier, and walk away sooner from what no longer honors you. Pain also deepens your compassion. Once you have felt hurt in your own bones, you no longer look at others the same way. You understand silence differently. You hear the unspoken grief in people's laughter and recognize strength in those who keep going despite their wounds. Pain softens you without weakening you, teaching you how to hold space for others while finally learning to hold space for yourself. As you move through this passage, you begin to realize that pain is temporary, but the wisdom it leaves behind is permanent. The hurt fades, but the insight remains. You learn that your value does not decrease because someone failed to protect your heart. You learn that survival is not loud and healing is not rushed. You learn that you can be broken and still becoming. There will come a day when you no longer wish the pain away, not because it was easy, but because you see what it gave you. It taught you patience with your own healing, honesty with your emotions, and courage to keep loving without losing yourself. The pain that once felt unbearable becomes a chapter, not the whole story. And when you step out of this passage, you will not be the same person who entered it. You will be wiser, steadier, and more deeply rooted in your truth. Pain did not punish you, it prepared you. It walked you through fire so you could emerge with clearer eyes, a stronger voice, and a heart that knows its worth. You did not just survive the pain, you learned from it, and that wisdom will guide you for the rest of your life. You are allowed to grieve what broke you, even if others don't understand it. Grief does not need permission, approval, or an audience. It does not ask whether the loss was visible enough, dramatic enough, or worthy enough in the eyes of others. Some wounds do not come with funerals or flowers. Some losses are quiet. The loss of trust, the loss of safety, the loss of the future you imagined. And yet they ache just as deeply. You do not have to explain your sorrow to anyone to make it real. There will be people who tell you to move on, to be strong, to stop living in the past. They may mean well, but they do not live inside your heart. They did not feel the moment something shattered inside you. Grieving is not weakness, it is honesty. It is the soul's way of saying, "This mattered to me." When you rush your grief to make others comfortable, you deny yourself the healing that comes from honoring what was lost. Grief has its own rhythm. Some days it will come as tears, other days as silence, exhaustion, or sudden anger you don't recognize. This does not mean you are failing at healing. It means you are human. What broke you did not disappear just because time moved forward, and neither should your right to feel it. Grief asks only that you listen, that you sit with it long enough to understand what it is teaching you about love, attachment, and yourself. You may grieve the person you were before the hurt, the one who trusted easily, loved freely, believed without fear. That grief is sacred too. It honors your innocence and the courage it took to be open in a world that can be unkind. Grieving who you were does not mean you want to go back. It means you respect the journey that shaped you. It means you are acknowledging the cost of becoming who you are now. There is no timeline for this kind of grief. Healing does not mean erasing the memory or pretending it didn't hurt. Healing means learning how to carry the memory without letting it crush you. Slowly, gently, grief loosens its grip. Not because you forced it to leave, but because you gave it space to speak. What you allow yourself to feel is what eventually sets you free. One day, you will notice that the weight has shifted. The pain will no longer define your days. You will remember without breaking. You will speak of what hurt you without losing your breath. This is not because the grief vanished, but because it transformed. It became understanding. It became strength. It became a deeper compassion for yourself and others. So grieve fully and without apology. Grieve even when no one claps for your survival. Grieve even when the world tells you to hurry. In honoring what broke you, you are honoring the depth of your heart. And in that honesty, healing finds you, not all at once, but steadily, faithfully, until you realize that grief did not destroy you. It taught you how deeply you can feel and how powerfully you can rise. Healing is not forgetting what hurt you, but learning not to live inside it. Forgetting is often impossible, and pretending otherwise only pushes the pain deeper. The memory may stay with you, but healing changes where that memory lives. It no longer occupies every thought, every breath, every decision. Instead of becoming the room you are trapped in, it becomes a chapter you can visit without losing yourself. There was a time when the hurt replayed itself endlessly, when your mind returned to it even in moments of peace. You woke with it, carried it through the day, and laid down with it at night. It shaped how you spoke, how you loved, how you trusted. But living inside pain is not the same as honoring it. Healing begins when you gently step outside the wound and realize that your life is larger than what happened to you. Learning not to live inside the hurt does not mean you deny it or silence it. It means you stop allowing it to define your identity. You are more than the betrayal, more than the rejection, more than the moment that broke you open. Pain may have influenced your path, but it does not get to decide your destination. You reclaim your power when you choose not to let yesterday's wounds dictate today's worth. There will be moments when the memory returns unexpectedly, stirred by a sound, a face, or a familiar feeling. In those moments, healing is not running away from the memory, but meeting it with compassion instead of fear. You remind yourself that you survived. You remind yourself that the pain did not end you. The memory loses its grip when it no longer controls your response. As you move forward, you begin to build a life that exists beyond the hurt. You laugh again, not because you forgot, but because joy found space to return. You trust again, carefully and wisely, not because you erased the past, but because you learned from it. Healing allows the wound to inform you without imprisoning you. It teaches you how to remember without reliving. Slowly, the pain stops being the center of your story. It becomes part of your wisdom, part of your strength, part of your understanding of what you deserve and what you will no longer accept. You stop asking why it happened and start asking how you want to live now. That shift is healing in motion. One day, you will realize that you no longer live inside the hurt. You carry the memory, but it no longer carries you. Your heart feels lighter, your breath deeper, your steps steadier. Healing did not erase your past, it expanded your future. And in choosing not to live inside what hurt you, you finally step fully into the life that has been waiting for you all along. The heart mends slowly, and that slowness is not a flaw, it is a kindness. A heart that has been hurt deeply cannot be rushed back into wholeness without tearing itself open again. Healing takes time because the heart is learning how to trust its own beating once more. Every breath you take, even the ones filled with heaviness, is proof that you are still here, still choosing life, still moving forward in ways you may not yet recognize. There were moments when breathing itself felt like work, when waking up meant facing another day with a heart that felt bruised and tired, yet you breathed anyway. In those quiet, ordinary breaths, healing was already happening. You may not have felt stronger, wiser, or lighter, but each inhale was a refusal to give up, and each exhale was a release of pain you could not yet name. Healing often hides in the smallest acts of survival. Mending does not mean snapping back to who you were before the hurt. It means becoming someone new, someone who carries tenderness alongside strength. The heart learns slowly how to open without bleeding, how to love without disappearing, how to feel without drowning. Every breath becomes a stitch, pulling the broken pieces closer together, teaching them how to belong again. Some days the stitches feel loose. Old pain tugs at them, memories pull, and emotions swell without warning. This does not mean the heart is failing to heal. It means it is alive. Healing hearts ache as they grow, just as muscles ache when they strengthen. The discomfort is not a sign to stop. It is a sign that the heart is working its way back to itself. In time, you begin to notice subtle changes. You breathe more deeply without thinking about it. Your chest does not feel as tight. You find moments of peace between the waves of memory. These are not accidents. They are the quiet rewards of patience, the result of thousands of breaths taken when giving up would have been easier. The heart remembers how to hope long before the mind believes it is safe to do so. You may catch yourself smiling without guilt, dreaming without fear, trusting without losing yourself. These moments are not betrayals of your pain. They are signs that your heart is stitching itself whole, thread by thread, breath by breath. One day, you will realize that the wound no longer defines the rhythm of your life. The heart still carries its scars, but scars are not open wounds. They are healed places that remind you of what you survived. Your breath will feel steady, your heartbeat strong, and your spirit rooted again in the present. The heart mends slowly, yes, but it mends truly. Every breath you take is an act of courage, a stitch of resilience, a promise to yourself that you are worth healing. You do not have to rush this process. As long as you are breathing, you are becoming whole. Forgiveness is not for those who hurt you. It is freedom for yourself. It is the moment you decide that the pain they caused will not have permanent ownership over your spirit. Forgiveness does not say what happened was acceptable, nor does it erase accountability. It simply means You are no longer willing to let someone else's actions continue to poison your peace. You forgive because carrying that weight has become heavier than the memory itself, and your soul is tired of paying a debt it never owed. Holding on to resentment can feel like strength at first. It feels like protection, like justice, like a shield against being hurt again. But over time, it becomes a cage. It keeps you tied to the very moment you are trying to escape. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks that door, not so the other person can walk free, but so you can. It allows you to step out of the past without dragging its chains into your future. Forgiveness does not demand reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still choose distance. You can release anger and still honor your boundaries. Forgiveness is an internal act, a quiet decision made in the heart. It is you saying, I will not let this pain define how I love, how I trust, or how I see myself. It is choosing peace over proving a point, healing over holding on, freedom over familiarity with pain. There may be days when forgiveness feels impossible, days when the wound feels too fresh, the betrayal too deep, the apology non-existent. On those days, forgiveness does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be honest. It may come slowly, in fragments, returning again and again, until it finally settles. Even the desire to forgive is a step toward freedom. Even the attempt is healing. As forgiveness takes root, you begin to feel lighter, not because the past changed, but because your relationship to it did. The anger no longer rises as quickly. The memory no longer controls your emotions. You start responding instead of reacting. This is not weakness. This is mastery of self. This is strength that no one can take from you. One day, you will realize that forgiving did not make you smaller. It expanded you. It gave you room to breathe, to love without fear, to move forward without looking over your shoulder. You did not forgive because they deserved it. You forgave because you deserved peace. And in that choice, you reclaimed your power, your joy, and your right to live unburdened by what once tried to break you.